Thank you for joining us. We will be starting shortly. As a reminder, this webcast is being recorded. You may get a copy of the recording on the DFPI Debt Collection Advisory Committee's public page. Your microphone has been muted and video disabled and will remain so for the duration of this webinar. If you have any questions or comments, you may submit them via the chat function in Zoom during the public comment period. Microphones can be unmuted for comments. If you are here in the audience, you may raise your hand.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Debt Collector Advisory Committee meeting. Before the commissioner proceeds with her opening remarks, I will go through a couple housekeeping items. This is a hybrid meeting using the state public meeting protocols. We are meeting live in the Sacramento office and via Zoom. This meeting is recorded. In the room today is myself, Deputy Commissioner Melinda Lee. We also have Deputy Commissioner Colleen Monahan. And we had some last minute changes, so let me, and then additionally, then we have committee members, Robert Tavalli and Desiree Nugent-Worth. Did I say that correctly? Thank you. And on the line, we have Commissioner Hewlett and Attorney Emily Gallagher from DFPI. And we have committee members, Scott Hyman, Sean Walsh, Angela Reed Becker, Colleen Miller, and Cindy Jacqueline. Did she get off? Okay, Cindy may or may not be joining us. So to review, sorry, thank you. And we also have our online, our Chief Deputy Commissioner, Casey Mozzini, and I think this is the first time I've ever tried to pronounce your last name. So Casey, if I messed that up, please correct me. For the agenda today.
Oh, Cindy, for everybody, I have yet to meet.
Oh, actually, no wonder I mispronounced your name. I also have it spelt wrong on my sheet here. Okay, so for our agenda today, we will start with opening remarks for the commissioner. Then I'll provide a brief program update, and there will be a we'll also update on where our status is on our regulations. We then should have 40 minutes for the committee members to discuss topics of interest to them. And then at the end of the meeting, we have 10 minutes set aside for any public comments. Attendees online can add comments to the chat at any time. We do save those. And if we do not get to responding to them during the meeting, we will respond to them after the meeting if they require a response, if it's a question. So now to start off our meeting officially, I will turn the microphone over to Commissioner Hewlett.
Good morning, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be with you today, although virtually. But first, I would like to give you a few updates from the department. Thank you for your insights and comments on pending regulations that you shared at our last two meetings. Since we were unable to finalize the annual report regulation, there will not be an assessment this year. We are allowing more time in this meeting to hear from the committee members and the public. You will be notified next year of the assessment prior to invoices being sent through NMLS. The notification will be sent to your DFPI designated email address. Since this is our primary method of contacting licensees, it is imperative that everyone designate an email address that is dedicated to receiving electronic mail from DFPI. As this mailbox needs to be monitored daily by members of the licensee executive staff to ensure prompt attention is paid to electronic communications from DFPI. In 2024, we had our first filing of the annual report and initiated the criminal background check process. In both cases, program staff took the steps of calling and sending letters to licensees to make sure that everyone received the necessary information to complete the processes. Going forward, we will only be sending notices through the designated email address, which is why it's so important that we have yours on file. And as always, we welcome your input on these important updates and activities. Thank you for joining today so that we can learn more about your thoughts, concerns, and how we can work together in the coming year. And thank you again for continuing contributions to further the mission of this committee. Your efforts and insights have been invaluable. Now I'll turn the meeting over to Deputy Commissioner Melinda Lee for a quick program update before our dynamic legal team leads us through the regulatory package decision. Thank you.
Okay, so for what's happening in the program right now is we are finalizing the criminal background checks, and that's for the MU2 filers that are associated with the company. We are currently at, I think it's 99.5%. So of the over 4,500 background checks that we had to complete, we have just a couple dozen that we are finalizing. In a few months, we believe we'll be starting, well, we will some point next year be starting the process for the branch managers. So based on the way the legislation date works, that will either be first or second quarter of next year. That process will be significantly less. We only have about half as many people to do for branch managers. To give you a heads up, so our department this program is going to be adopting the state examination system. So some of you might be familiar with that, but for those of you who are not, the state examination system, or what it's frequently known as SES, is a nationwide examination system built by CSBS. It's for state regulators and the companies they supervise. There are currently 53 state agencies using SES. So SES is a secure online platform that manages the end-to-end workflow for examinations, investigations, and other supervisory activities of state licensed companies. The system streamlines the examination process, which helps reduce the likelihood of concurrent exams or duplicate requests for information from multiple regulatory agencies. Additionally, SES simplifies the communication between state agencies and the companies they regulate by providing a secure platform to directly submit information requested by state agencies, thus creating a more uniform and efficient process. The main goals of SES are to standardize the supervisory process, foster collaboration among state agencies, offer readily available risk-based data, and safeguard sensitive information. SES is continually enhanced by receiving feedback from the companies whose hand-on experience helps drive how the system can improve and create a better user experience. So this is just to give you a heads up because we do plan next year, we will be increasing our examination presence. And this is one of the first integral steps for us to do that. It does require an onboarding process if you're not already on the system. So it will, the first time you use it, will be a little more difficult because you will have to learn a new system. But we believe once everyone is on board and understands the system, that it will greatly enhance our examination procedures and increase the safety of us transferring information. So that's the end of our program update. And I'm going to go ahead and let Emily give you a very brief update on where we are on our reg packages.
Hi, everyone. So not much to share on the scope regulations. I just want to let you know we're continuing to contemplate the comments we've received. And we do expect to release another text, but I don't currently have an update. Well, I don't currently have an estimate for when that's going to be. On the second regulation package, the annual report regulations, the second modified text was published last Wednesday, September 11th. So the comment deadline for that is Friday, September 27th. So that's what, 11 days from now. So that's all I've got for you, Melinda.
And do any of the committee members have questions about any of the updates before we move into your guys' comments? Okay. Okay, great. Well, so now we'll do our roundtable for the committee members, and we like to, we actually are going to have plenty of time because we're already early. So if you would ever would like to volunteer to start first, if you can have the floor for, it's currently scheduled 6 minutes, but you know, we can adjust as we go on depending on how the discussion is, but we want to make sure every committee member has a chance to express what their concerns are now, and then also, you know, to have some discussion between all of us. So is there anyone who would like to start out?
We don't have anything to add right now, so.
No. Okay, so this is your time, so we don't actually have a scheduled anything else to discuss.
Hyman.
Oh, Scott would, okay, yeah, I can, you are gonna have to clue me in because it appears I can't see the hands. Okay, Scott.
Good morning, it's always me. So I thought I'd follow up on the rather somewhat robust discussion that there was last quarter on attorney licensure and outreach, whether there was an outreach to the state bar. There was some mention that that might take place following the last quarterly meeting.
Hi, Scott. Yes, we are in communications with the state bar about that issue. So I can say our next text will be informed by that communication we're having with them. I don't really have an update on what we have or will get from them. So we will definitely update you as soon as that's finalized into as soon as that's finalized into another draft.
Perfect. So it'll go into those discussions will be baked into the next proposed scope regs.
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
There's been no response. Has there been no response from the Bar Association or with regard to that? I mean,
No, we're in communications with them.
no, but has there been any response from them back to you at all in reference to anything with regard to their stance?
Yes, we haven't just reached out to them. We've communicated with them. We
Right,
are
but
in active
Have they
discussion.
communicated back to you with regard to their posture or stance in reference to acceptance of licensing for attorney firms or not? I was very involved in a deal in 1991, 92 with regard to attorneys that acted as collection agencies as opposed to attorneys just practicing law. And I'm very familiar with that particular case. But I was curious if the law firms or the Bar Association had given any type of response back saying, we accept it, we will work with you on it, or we just flat out reject any licensing because we're licensed by the bar.
I'm seeing the commissioner's hand is up, so I'm gonna let her take it.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought up these points because they're very important. I used to oversee moral character for the state bar. So I'm very familiar with their processes, particularly when it comes in anything remotely connected to attorney licensing. I think what you have going on right now at the state bar is you probably have several layers of additional review. So it goes through several different sections of legal counsel, and they will also be in the midst of consulting with the Supreme Court on top of it, since ultimately the ultimate boss of the State Bar of California is the Supreme Court. But it's not a situation where they're just ignoring us or not looking at the situation. It's just that it's going through a very in-depth legal critique before they will get back to us.
My only other comment with regard to that would be, in reference to that case, obviously it'd be a long discussion if I started it and continued on it, but just to give you the background, it was the Haight and Landau case back in the early 90s. It carried on for several years. It cost the industry association hundreds of thousands of dollars to fight it. And what they kind of came out to was that when an attorney firm staffs an office with collectors and practices collections, they were a collection agency and they didn't realize it. Afterward, there was a bill passed in California that related to a single attorney practicing law was not licensed as a collection agency or as an agency of any kind. They were already governed by the bar. Afterward, there was an attempt a few years, about probably 10 years ago, to pass another law that allowed large law firms to create a collection agency atmosphere and start producing collection activity without being licensed. And they thought they were just inadvertently exempted from the law when they allowed single attorneys to do it because they were just practicing law. And if you want to go in depth with that, I'd be happy to talk to anybody about it at one point, but it was a pretty serious thing. And I think that it would be, I don't think that, my personal opinion is, I don't think that attorneys should be licensed as collection agencies or licensed under this environment because they're already licensed. That's my personal opinion. But when they do open an agency and practice as an agency, it's obvious they're walking like a duck at that point. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, there's also been the American Bar Association has gotten involved when there was attempts to regulate attorney conduct under the FDCPA, and the federal regulatory agencies actually, in the end, listened very carefully to the concerns of the American Bar Association in terms of sort of interfering with state bar licensure issues. And I think that I may have shared those issues with the department before, but I'm happy to pull that together again if the department would like to see that.
Callie Miller raised her hand as well.
Thank you, Kelly.
Good morning, everybody. There is a question in the chat addressed to the host and the panelists, and it basically is asking about future regulations other than the scope regulation and the annual report slash definition of net proceeds regulation, both of which are in process. Does the department anticipate issuing any other proposed or draft regulations over the next 6 months?
I think
Probably
Colleen,
not in the next 6 months. I think those are what are currently on the table in that time frame.
For debt collection,
Anything in scope for the next year?
I'm sorry, what?
for the next year.
We, not that we don't have any plans for any at the moment, but rulemaking comes about because something emerges as unclear in the statute or in our interpretation. So the answer I could give is that those are the packages we have now, and really anything we spotted now would probably be included in one of those packages, but I can't say with certainty in the next year, we will not uncover other areas where cleanup might be necessary and or substantive provisions. But there's nothing on the table at the moment.
Thank you.
Sean Welsh also has a question.
Go ahead, Sean.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. How are we doing with the licensing backlog? Is that all completed?
It is all completed. We have no applications in our backlog. So anyone who applied during before January 1, 2023, their applications have all been cleared out. And in fact, we are currently application review, unless, I mean, we run into some issues, but we're getting them done in about 90 days. A lot of it has to do with is responses from the applicants, not on our, it's not on our end, it's on their end if it's taking longer than that. But we are, everything is up to date. The only thing that we're going to have to do is the criminal background checks, go back and address those for all of the branch managers. And that will, the companies we did pretty quick. I mean, I thought we did for the volume. I was very proud of my team. They did a wonderful job. More of our branch managers are out of country, and just the mere aspect of them being out of country lengthens the process.
That's excellent. The last thing I had was currently consumer complaints can't be responded to by the licensees through the portal. Is that being addressed?
I am not aware of that, so I might have to reach out to you and get more information on what's happening, because that I was not aware of, that there was an issue with that.
Okay, I can send you an email after the meeting.
Yeah, if you could do that, because I'll look into that, because no, I did not realize that that was a problem now.
Okay, thank you so much.
So just a second.
Charlie has her hand raised.
Is that our portal or complaint portal?
Yes, I think he's stuck in that one. It's fine. Okay, Callie?
And we have some questions about the licensee count. What is our current licensee count? And how many agencies that are licensed are based in California as opposed to out of state?
I don't have an exact count. The last count I had was 1,258, and that was the beginning of last month. it goes up and down. We lose a few and we gain a few every month, but that's where we are right now. And we are still at 65% are out of state. We pretty much consistently hold that number or out of state. We have only a handful of companies out of country. But we do also have, I mean, it's less than 10 country that are out of country. Does anyone else have a question? It appears depending on what your background is, whether or not I can see your hand.
Callie, I'm going to amend my answer on the rulemaking just because our scope rulemaking is big and we may have other cleanups. So it is possible, just as we did the annual report and net proceeds, that we could break it into pieces if we need provisions to move faster or have issues that we're still going to work on related to it. So I don't think there's any substantive rulemaking that you're not aware of just from what's been out there, but I'm going to put that out there that it is possible it could be broken into pieces and or we could have other cleanup moving. Thank you.
It appears Scott has his hand up.
Yeah, just to follow up, Colleen, on that, thanks, Melinda. Just to follow up on that question. The new proposed regs that just came out have about a 16-day response period. And that has been, this is a question about process. And that has been the time response with respect to some of the previous proposed regs. But other proposed regs historically have had, you know, a lot longer time period for the general public or for industry to respond to. Is the time that the department gives for the general public or for industry to respond, are we shortening that to generally a 15-day response? Or are there going to, or are proposed regs moving forward where there will also be longer periods of time?
Yeah, in the thank you, Scott. When we propose longer periods of time, sometimes it's when the regulations are in development, when it's an invitation for comments and we haven't started the formal rulemaking process. So we're not on a calendar deadline, statutory deadline. And then when under the APA, the Administrative Procedure Act, when rules are first introduced, it's mandated that there be a 45-day comment period. So for that particular rulemaking, it is in the formal rulemaking process. So there is a requirement that comment periods be at least 15 days after the initial 45-day comment period. And typically that is the time period we would provide for comments if we are, because our time to get the rules adopted is limited by statute. And so we had to, and so that is almost always the time period for amendments to a rule that is has been noticed under the Administrative Procedure Act and filed with the Office of Administrative Law. There's a 1-year calendar to get the rules in place. And in fact, for that particular rulemaking, we had hoped to have it finalized before the assessment period came and went this year, but that just didn't materialize. But those are the other driving factors. It has to do with the APA calendar more than our decision that one warrants more time than another.
No, I think that's helpful for everybody on the phone to know what the process is in terms of, you know, what the time periods are going to look like, whether it's an initial proposed regs or whether they're further, you know, here we are now on second modified text for the regulations related to annual reports.
Yeah, and in fact, that is why when we have the informal invitation for comments, we're really trying to dedicate some time and work through the issues, because once we move to formal rulemaking, we are on a timetable to get them adopted. And it doesn't leave as much time to work out issues that may arise.
Very good. Thank you.
So you'll be able to see that pattern and how we propose and follow through with regulations.
Thanks.
Are there any more? Oh, Kelly? Yeah.
Me again from the comment section. There are questions about, has the department identified any agencies that are not licensed but are active? And basically, there's two questions asking about unlicensed debt collection activity. How is the department far enough along to begin identifying these agencies?
Yes, we have had some actions already for unlicensed activity, and they get posted on our website because they are public actions. And yes, that is something that, as we continue with our implementation process and are not having to focus so much time just getting everyone licensed. So basically, now that our backlog is cleared, it does allow our program more time to do investigations into other items, which includes unlicensed activity. And we do also, I'll just throw in there, if you have someone you're concerned about, you can file a complaint with us, and you may not see any immediate action with it, but it is something that then gets added to our list of companies that we will, look at as time allows. So please feel free, if you run across someone that you believe should be licensed, to let our department know. Any other comments or questions? And Sunday, is there anything in the chat that I would need to address?
There was one follow-up of where on the website can that be found? And I believe they're referring to reporting unlicensed activity.
Oh, it would be through our complaint process. You also, it would be through the complaint process.
I'm going to say, because that's the source, our website is our internal source too for finding a lot of information. If it's complaints and or administrative actions, you'll want to look under consumers or consumers at the top button, and it will be a menu below that for either of those, I believe.
Yes.
As
Yes.
opposed to, if you look at licensee, it's going to be more the obligations of the licensee.
They were asking if it's under summary of actions.
Well, the complaint,
Oh.
filing the complaints would not. Summary of actions would be the administrative actions and or civil actions or any orders against any person. So you would find there any of the
Unlicensed activity cases.
any action we took against unlicensed activity. The complaints, is there a link? I think there's a link to complaints right on there also.
Looks like Lisa put it in the chat.
Okay.
Well, if we have no other discussion items, we can move to our next section, which is to open up if any of the public wanted to make a comment to the group. So, Sean, I noticed did he want to talk? He just popped up. No, okay.
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay. Okay, so for the public comment period, if someone was in the room, they would need to share, raise their hand. For those of you that are on Zoom, use the raise hand function. You can also, if there are any additional questions or comments, you can put it in the chat. If anyone has dialed in, then you need to press the number 2 to raise your hand to be called on for comment. And you will be prompted at the time to speak. And we allow, since we're good with time, we would allow a minute for every person who would like to make a public comment. Is there, Sunday, is there anyone who has their hand raised?
No, not yet.
No. Well, we'll give them a couple seconds. While we're doing that, I do also want to let everyone know, as the commissioner said, designated emails are essential for you guys to get the information and instructions for what needs to be done. We will be sending out, starting the annual report emails the beginning of November. We are going to be making some changes to our annual report. We had some things that weren't clear last time, so we're going to try to clear up some items, do some formatting changes. So we are going to be sending out a copy of the annual report. It should go out on November 1st, if that's a working day, if not prior to that. So if you do want that and you want all the notifications, make sure you do get your designated emails. You do that through on our website. You can also email our inquiries box if you need further instructions to do that. And as far as our next advisory committee meeting, we do not have one scheduled. I don't anticipate we'll have another one this year. Probably looking at January, but part of that will kind of depend on if the scope regs, if we have things to do with the scope regs. A lot of times we try to schedule around that because that is always very active conversation. So, so right now we don't have a set date for our next meeting. So did anyone during that time? Okay, well, if no one has any comments or anything that they want to raise, that would end our meeting. So I'll give everyone one last chance.
There's one more question. There's one more question in the Q&A. The NMLS renewal period begins November 1st. Does DFPI plan to notify licensees that the NMLS requires licensees to pay annual renewal fees to NMLS?
We do, yes, we do normally send out a reminder to everyone at the beginning of that period. So just to clarify on that process, your actual license is perpetual. So you don't have to renew your actual license. However, you do have to renew your NMLS account and attest that all the information that is currently inputted into NMLS is correct and up to date. There is a renewal fee that is paid to NMLS, not to DFPI. You have to complete your renewal process by the end of the year. So it does have to be done by the end of the year. If you have questions on the process, you need to talk to the NMLS customer service group, not necessarily to us. We can't, we're not controlling the technical aspects. So if there's a technical problem, please talk to them. But yes, we do normally send a reminder, and then a week before they're due, anyone who is not renewed, we would send them a notification. If it falls into next year, and I don't know all the dates off the top of my head, there does get to a point where it does impact your NMLS account and it can get frozen. So we do recommend that you complete the process. Because there can be consequences long-term.
This may be a dumb question, and just for my lack of looking. For anybody who is currently in the licensing and all of the approved regs that have been approved up to date, is that in one place where they can see, or has there been a published?
For regulations.
All current regulations that have been approved.
We only have one, so right now
Okay.
they're all in one
They're
place.
all in one, okay, no, that's fine.
Yeah, so you can go through our website and go through, there's a place to look up regulations and yes,
Okay.
they are there. All the proposed ones are there too.
Yes, okay. They're
But
in
right
separate
now,
sections or-
we only have,
That's what I was looking for. is
Yeah.
the-
yes, so all the basically the package that's already been approved is there, and then the two proposed
okay,
are there.
That's good.
And it would,
Makes it easier. for
shows you the
everybody.
one that, yes, is open for comment right now.
Okay.
Anything else, Cindy?
There's no chat or no hands raised.
Okay. Well, I thank all of you for attending this meeting, and we will send out for our next meeting, as I mentioned, in 2025, early 2025 is what we're looking at. Unless, of course, something happens and there's a need, but right now, this is our third meeting we've had this year, and we're required to have two. So we did throw in an extra one this year, and we'll meet again in 2025. Okay, thank you.
Sounds
Very
good.
good. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the commissioner.
Thank you.